just brought together a city lands task force. There were members of different experts from different fields: finance, banking, construction, development, for-profit and nonprofit, to come up with a strategic plan, to help me develop a strategic plan how to utilize these city lands in a mosaic. Thinking about it like a mosaic. We are not going to be able to accomplish every single thing on every single piece of property. The old library block is a really good example. How, as we are trying to achieve different city goals, do we think about these lands like a mosaic, so where one goal might be achieved over here, we now might be able to leverage what we did on that piece of property to achieve better goals over here.
I'll do a real quick thing on just the Sleepy Inn. Andrea said that that was a strategic, good use of money. We spent, that piece of property was for sale for 3 years for $675,000. COVID hit, we paid $1.1 million for that piece of property. We then in turn put almost $500,000 into it to make it livable, and then we spent another $300,000 to tear it down. I called a few weeks ago, 2 months ago, called the realtor to see what it was for sale for, and it was at $675,000. So I don't think that's a great use of our income.
There's been about $500 million of private investment that has been made downtown, but the public infrastructure investment has not kept up with that, and that's why this is a unique opportunity. The first thing we're doing is we're converting the 2 one-ways to 2-way streets. 2-way streets offer much better flow, both for safety and access to businesses, than do 1-way streets. Will there be interruption? There will, and we'll be working with the businesses and the public to address that interruption during construction. But ultimately, 2-way flow helps. The other thing that this project funds and enables us to do is traffic signal coordination. 23 downtown traffic signals will be better coordinated to reduce congestion. The other thing that the downtown SAM will offer is full accessibility for folks that choose not to use a vehicle, but also addressing how vehicles get around more safely. We want vehicle traffic to be safer, not only for people driving vehicles and large trucks, but also people that are walking and using other modalities.
My biggest concern with the downtown master plan is parking. We're going to shrink the streets down, we're going to shrink the parking. At the same time, we're going to have to rebuild one of the parking structures, and so downtown parking is going to be negatively impacted. And I worry about the business owners down there and their business traffic to their stuff. So I don't like the master plan. I think there's other priorities we should be looking at first. The answer to that is that we need to build. Until we have enough housing for everybody, prices will never come down. We need to collaborate with builders with spaces that we have, the 45 acres. We need to get it developed into some affordable housing. There's some programs that the tenant unions are talking about where we can do a bond where we could pay for housing separate from our taxes, and then the rents or payments that you would pay back on those things would pay for the housing, and so I'd like to see more of that.
We're starting with the foundational work. We got a forward-looking land use plan adopted by City Council in 2024, December of 2024. We're now taking that vision, we're putting that vision into work by updating all of our development codes into a unified development code so the private sector can act more quickly to develop different home types in all parts of Missoula. Second of all, the city is applying direct tools. We're doing that through using the 45 acres and how we can strategically use these 45 acres to address a whole host of different housing types. Because we have heard over and over again that not only are folks that are living on fixed incomes, let's say Social Security disability income, need more accessible housing, but so do folks that are working in businesses downtown and all across Missoula. So we need to take a look at all sorts of different options working with the private sector. We do that through utilization of different tools we have at our disposal. We have a redevelopment agency that invests in economic development and infrastructure investment. We just landed a deal at the Riverfront Triangle after decades in the making, where we're working with the private sector to see a hotel get built there that meets the downtown master plan goals. We are investing in the infrastructure that will eventually build out the infrastructure of that blighted area downtown, and $7 million will go into our Affordable Housing Trust Fund as a result of that transaction. The city then can utilize the Affordable Housing Trust Fund to leverage other housing projects. I mentioned earlier, we're currently under construction with 89 homes for sale for our workforce, utilizing our workforce housing program through the redevelopment agency. And we just funded 24 more deed-restricted rental homes on Third in partnership with Opportunity Resources. Our strategy and our plans have been to meet with you and others from the Refugee Congress and organizations like Soft Landing and others that are working with folks that have come through the refugee program, that have relocated to Missoula, and how can we better understand the barriers that you are experiencing to best engage with and flourish in Missoula. So first of all, I will say that we will continue to be a welcoming city because Missoula will continue to be a constitutional city. We will continue to uphold the law, and we will continue to make sure that people have that they have access to their constitutional rights. And second of all, that we have a team of people at the city that believe in that and are carrying that out as well. We talked about ways that we can uphold not only a strong relationship, but gain better understanding of different cultures, that we can identify ways that we, through the city of Missoula, can provide clarity around our laws, procedures to folks that may not have English as a first language.
I've lived in Missoula since '67, so I saw the influx from after the Vietnam War, and it was very hard for those people back then, and the strides that Missoula has made to welcome these people and help them has been astronomical since then. I think we still have work to do. There's probably less than 2% of people in this room that are not American by their ancestors. So Montana and the United States as a whole is a melting pot, and we welcome everybody in here, and Missoula is a safe haven for everybody.
One of the things that we need to do is be more clear about what we can achieve. And ultimately, when we started that project at the Scott Street Rivara site, it was before the pandemic. And if any of you are in the construction industry or the development industry, you might recognize, and I certainly did because of my career leading up to being in the mayor's position, costs of development have more than doubled for a host of different reasons. That same reality happened at the Scott Street Rivara project. So our choice was to either ask for more tax dollars to subsidize a childcare facility there, or recognize the limitation that we had. And the 45-acre city lands task force effort that I've made is to really be more clear about managing our public expectations. What can we achieve together? And if we decide that childcare is going to be at a site, then we need to plan for that specifically from the beginning so that we actually have the viability to make it happen. So then I'll say, what are we doing? Well, we're doing a number of things through our Parks and Rec department, and we partner with a number of folks. We've been able to do both pre and post-school childcare that has helped a lot of working parents be able to save on childcare expenses through participation in our different Parks and Rec programs. I just met with the CEO of the United Way last week as we talked about lifting up a task force, and the United Way will be spearheading this effort as a child care task force in this community because we have different elements. But how are we looking at this across the board? The city has an opportunity to participate here, but we need to make sure that we are not inadvertently making it more difficult for the private sector to provide child care.
So the loss of the child care facility at Romero was quite disappointing. I keep hearing that over and over. I thought that was in the initial planning stages all along. So to say that we need to start in the beginning thinking of that, I think we did, and we still lost that. I understand that it didn't pencil out for the owners, but we need to take the lands that we do have. We need to partnership with some of the daycares and some of the businesses and get something funded for these people. 'Cause everybody knows in Missoula, you know, when I was a kid, my dad worked, my mom stayed at home, raised kids. That is not a possibility in this town anymore. So we have got to find some ways to fund it.